Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a very, very sunny Dorset. I'm standing in tonight for Chris, who's taken a well-earned break. And it's a sort of slightly different evening. We're obviously going to review Friday's excellent draw at Chesterfield, and we're going to have a little chat about tomorrow night's game at Crawley. But we've got some erstwhile guests to sort of reminisce about the first games of the season, or as in last year, not. So without further ado, let me bring Vic on. Good evening, Vic. I'm from sunny Devon.
Yeah, sunny Devon. It's absolutely baking here now. We had a very murky morning, but goodness me, it's warm. Yes, tomorrow night we go to Crawley. And if you're going on the bus, well, there are no more spaces available. If you've got a place on the bus, great. It leaves the county ground at 3:30. That's tomorrow afternoon. So if you're going to Crawley and you've got a ticket for that bus, then you're well suited to go on it, because there are no more tickets available. The first coach for Crewe a week on Saturday is full, and they're unlikely to add a second one, as the bus has to be ordered in the next couple of days, and they require 30 more needed for that second coach. So unless there's a sudden rush of people wanting to get on that bus, it's not going to happen. It leaves at 7:30 a.m. on the Saturday. Don't forget, it's a 12:30 kickoff at Crewe. And look out for news regarding Barrow and Exeter in the Bristol Street Rovers Trophy. Of course, that's coming up in September. So those two matches, look out for news of those very shortly.
And we're going to remind, we're going to be doing something special on Saturday, so we can sort of remind the people in advance about what we're planning to do, Vic.
You may well know, there was a photograph you might have seen just now of the great Andy Rowland, who sadly passed away in the summer. We would ask you to take part in a round of applause in the 9th minute, please, to give Andy due respect. Andy wore the number 9 with great distinction for Swindon Town, of course, for many years, and also remember Mark Waters, who ran SAS Travel for many years. So if you could join us in, after 9 minutes on Saturday, in the 9th minute, I should say, that would be fantastic, and a round of applause. There'll be another reminder later in the week, just so you remember.
Okay, many thanks, Rick. Right, I'll bring our guests on. Good evening, Jamie. Good evening, Liam. Good evening, Nick, all the way from Pennsylvania. Good evening, Andrew, and good evening, Craig. I'll leave you to it, Vic.
Thank you, Nick, very much indeed. Thank you for joining us live from the American surfing team in the US of A. I hope you're ready for Los Angeles in 2028. Are you prepared for that?
Yeah, well, but there's a few games this side, so on the East Coast. So I think New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania have been given the cities to host games.
Marvellous. Well done. Well, enjoy the surfing when we finish with you, because it's, what time is it?
It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
It's 4 o'clock in the afternoon? 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Right, okay. Yeah, okay. Lovely. Jamie, not so far away. I believe you're in Wiltshire, is that right?
Absolutely, yeah. No glorious speech in the background for me.
Fabulous. Liam, you're in Gloucestershire. Am I correct?
I'm in Cheltenham with the sound of dogs and lawnmowers.
Marvellous. Craig he's even more international in bonny old Scotland up there. How is it with you up there?
Yeah, hello from Kirkintilloch in Eastern Berkshire. Yeah, kind of a bit overcast, not spectacularly hot. We've not had much of a summer, to be honest here, but people at least haven't got coats on, so that's something.
Yeah, that's at least a benefit. I won't ask you where you are, Andrew, because begins with an O or something.
I'm in what I like to call extended Wiltshire.
Well done. Good man. Right, we're going to talk about memories of opening days. Many of you might remember the opening day last season, of course, when we all traipsed off to Gillingham for a game that wasn't on. But first of all, let's talk about Colchester, rather, not Gillingham. Let's talk about Friday night. Jamie, what were your impressions of Friday?
I think it's a game I think we would have lost last year. I think that's the positive. I think the first half looked like what it probably was, is a team of people that haven't really played together and need time to build a kind of relationship, versus a team that played a lot of last season together and have got quite a lot of continuity going into a new season. I think we grew into it. Was it the best performance in the world? No, but I think there was encouraging signs in the second half. I think we look a lot more stable at the back, but I think the test will be to see how good that result is in a few weeks' time, because I don't think that many people will go there and take points off of Chesterfield. So I think I'd take the positive out of it and say we didn't lose. It was a good start. There was a bit of battling performance there, and I think we looked a damn sight more robust than we did last season.
Yeah, Craig, the first 45 minutes seemed to be us passing the ball to people in blue shirts somehow. It was a bit of a mess, to be honest, wasn't it?
I was a bit worried first half. I was obviously because I was there. I didn't have the benefit of the action replays and the close-ups. I was still trying to work out which player was which. To be honest, really, I mean, I was concerned because we didn't seem much better than when we played Swindon Supermarine back in early July, and I was expecting us to really kick on, and I couldn't really work out what the kind of patterns of play were kind of supposed to be aiming at. I don't want to be critical about drilling again, but I think he's got the turning circle of a super tanker, and I think that I was disappointed that he started and not Glatzel, but that's another story. But just a lot of huff and puff and silly mistake at the back to concede the goal. It was right in front of us. Penalty, I think, was Stonewall. I was bursting for a wee. I was right at the bottom of the steps, and I was quite close to the incident, and I just walked away, waiting for the roar to occur, and it never did. So that was a relief when I came back. But first half a bit worrying, but game of two halves, wasn't it?
Yeah, it certainly was a game of two halves. Mr. Hawes, if I might give you the statistic, courtesy of the great townenders.com website, which has recently landed, Will Wright became the 1,250th player to score for Swindon in EFL with that goal. Now, I've been thinking about a term to describe it. Franz Beckenbauer-esque, I would describe it, because the way he got the ball, dummied that player on the halfway line, stepped out of defence and then smashed it into the net. It was fabulous, wasn't it?
It was tremendous. There was was there a bit of Hoddle in there, possibly?
Any great player you want to mention? I'm being happy with it.
Any quality sweeper. No, that was a tremendous goal. I don't know what the view was like in the away section, but kind of frustratingly for me, it was a bit side on, so you didn't quite see how good it was going to be until the keeper was like grasping at it. But no, tremendous goal. I guess we didn't create too much other than that, but it was enjoyable, and I think you go away from there and take the point and move on. And I think I'm with Jamie. I think they'll do quite well. Chesterfield, they sort of knock the ball around with more than average League Two comfort, I'd say.
Yeah, and they were bound to be up for it because, of course, it was a return to the Football League. So you would expect them to put on a display. Did you see it in far off America, Nick?
Yeah, I saw it on the TV, and it was. And you knew it was going to be under pressure, like I said, like you just said, with Chesterfield being on the TV back into it was all for them, and I'd rather the game went the way it did, that we started off bad and got better, rather than the other way round, because at least you feel it was better second half, and there's things to build on from that.
Yeah, I'd have taken the point happily before the start of the game, so no reason to be disappointed afterwards. Liam, I can't really ask you about Friday because appallingly you weren't there, were you?
I got a letter from my teacher or from my mum. I went to see Peter Kay, and I bought those tickets 2 years ago. So it's not exactly like I could say, I'd rather see Chesterfield Swindon. Can I mention one thing and be in my bonnet about Chesterfield and last year Wrexham and the year before Stockport, which is those lot are not subject to FFP or whatever it's called these days for 2 years. So they get that advantage that we don't have. And that's why these clubs are now coming out from the National League and doing very well, because they've actually allowed to spend far more money than we are. And they kept most of their team from last season, haven't they? And added people. And I'm just so surprised why they're second or third favourites and we're 14th or 15th. Or read some of them, read The Guardian, and I think we're 22nd or something. So you know what? Going away with a 1-1 draw away from home at the beginning of the season, that's much better than I thought we'd get. I would take
that any day. I agree with you totally. I mean, look at Wrexham and the players that they brought in last season. Yeah. Players with Premier League experience, and look how they're doing already this season. They won on Saturday, didn't they? So they're going to build throughout the course of the season, one suspects. I totally agree with the point you're making. Some comments coming in. Hello, Sean. I'm confident we will push on after Friday. Okay, it didn't go to plan first half, but we grew into it. And with some very good signs. We have to remember Chesterfield, basically same team as with us. We are gelling. Lovely evening Friday, says Tony. Defence looks solid, midfield to be stronger, feeding the forwards. Enjoyed meeting up with old friends. The word old we should leave to one side, perhaps. So much long ball, says Kevin, but if what it takes, so be it. An odd one here, blatant penalty, but I watched the vlog and from behind the goal footage, it looks a 50-50. Could just be me. No, after that travelling Friday. Yeah, Jamie, opening days of the season, we're going to talk about in a little while, but my goodness me. Hats off to our bus driver, because that was a tough... Take your hat off, Andrew. Go on. Because that was good. Because that was a tough one, wasn't it? I mean, you have to feel for the coach drivers driving us from one end of the country to another. That was a nightmare, wasn't it?
It was a horrendous start, wasn't it? And credit to Laura and Mark and the new team that have taken over SAS, because that can't have been the easiest first game to worry about. We all knew that M5, M6, whatever you want to call it, up the motorway, and then now Birdlip, which God knows for the next umpteen years it feels like is going to cause all sorts of problems for travelling fans. But Friday night's game, this is the ludicrous part of Friday night TV, isn't it? We looked at all the other games that were moved. Fair enough, they were pretty much northern teams against each other. We ended up stopping for 10 minutes, didn't we? Roughly, 10-15 minutes maximum, because we had no choice. Otherwise, we wouldn't have got there on time. And that was no lack of trying, because as you say, credit to the drivers. They took us a different route than we've been for a long time. They were navigating around traffic jams left, right, and centre all over the place. But we got there. That was the main thing. But it just shows there's absolutely no fan engagement about these changes, is there? And we're going to have it time and time again this year. But 800 and odd, wasn't it, that we took? I think that was actually nicely picked out by some of the interviews that I've seen from Kennedy and from some of the players, because that engagement with respecting the fans, going up there and spending the time and money, what's in holiday time, isn't it, isn't always recognised. And I think it did seem to be. And I don't know whether Andrew got that feeling from the interviews, but it certainly felt like it from the press afterwards. But yeah, not the first game you want to do every year, is it? But I guess we're going to have to get used to it.
Yeah, it's done now. You feel for the Plymouth fans, don't you? Yesterday, 12:30 kickoff at Sheffield Wednesday on a Sunday, and then getting beat 4-0 and then coming all the way back again. And Bristol City, likewise, at Hull City on Saturday lunchtime at 12:30. We got friends who left at 3:30 in the morning to go to that one. So I suspect we got quite a bit of that. You know all about that, though, Craig, don't you? You leave like 1 o'clock in the morning to get to various places.
Yeah.
How was it for you, Friday?
Well, just to say, I mean, it was about 9 months ago I was first invited on the Monday night panel, and it was the Monday after the Wimbledon debacle when we lost 4-0 away. And I said about that Saturday that it was a fantastic away day, and the football spoilt it. Well, actually, Friday was a fantastic. I mean, the driving was a nightmare, but it was. I got there early enough to have a few beers with people in the beer parlour, the little pub with the beer parlour, and to chat to locals afterwards, which is a rare thing. So that was wonderful. But we left at 10:30. So shout out to Rich and Hamish from Gargunnock, which is still further north, about an hour north of here. They drove down. We left at 10:30. We did 267 miles, 6 hours driving, 7 hours on the road. Bizarrely, traffic jams around the Scottish borders and Penrith. So our theory was possibly that people are taking doing their shopping for their kids' school trousers and shoes, because they go back to school in Scotland this week, and there's a big outlet centre at Gretna. So it might have been that, but it was just choco, and we had to navigate around Leeds. But kind of 7 hours after leaving we got there. But it was horrific. It's to take the day off like everybody else, I suppose. But I would stress that it was, I think, one of my favourite ever away days, just finding this fantastic little Real Ale pub, meeting up with the Leicester Reds, meeting up with some of Richard's friends. Old Duffer Ratter Russ was there, and just chatting to the Chesterfield fans before and after. And it was just a kind of, it's the 25th or 26th game I've been to this season. I've been going to all these kind of ones at Scotland at the start so early, but to be there and for it to mean something and to sing. I can't remember the last time that I sang Sing when you're winning, you only sing when you're winning, and it was just that. It was a great, great day out. So long drive back, but for a change, the football wasn't that bad. I'd give it a 6 out of 10. The football, but it wasn't like Wimbledon, so good away day.
Yeah, I mean, it was an enjoyable evening. I mean, I thought the Chesterfield fans were great, and they seem to be, they're back in the Football League. How is it for you, Andrew? Because obviously you've got to get there, make sure you're there early. So did you leave ridiculously early? What time?
Yeah. I sort of left about kind of lunchtime, but it was definitely a fair old meander up there with, I think I was probably a bit lucky in trying to avoid the worst of the traffic jams. There was just appeared to be sort of infinite sections of 50 mile an hour road, but getting anywhere on a Friday to any game is horrendous, really. So we will have to hope our satellite overlords are broadly merciful on us, and we don't get too many of those. Saturday 12:30s aren't great either, but it doesn't have quite the horror in terms of the actual level of traffic.
No, 5 o'clock on the motorway for me doesn't seem too bad, or does it? Not sure. What was Mark Kennedy's view then? I mean, obviously he appreciates the fans because he came over afterwards. Obviously the result helped, but I would imagine he kind of has that Richie Wellens vibe. Is that fair to say?
Obviously he's not been around for that much pre-season for reasons we all kind of know. So I think we're still sort of feeling each other out. But yeah, he's pretty confident. He's quite lucid. I think he knows what he wants to say, and he'll find a way to say it regardless of the question, as most of the good managers know how to do. And yeah, I think he's willing to sort of open up a bit on the tactics, and he was definitely appreciative of that support. I think when you've had your worst season in living memory, to take 850 people up there on a Friday, I thought it was a fantastic effort to kind of sell that bit out, and I think that's all we had, isn't it? Because there were Chesterfield fans pretty much in all parts of the rest of the ground.
Yeah, a nice ground too. I think they've got a lovely stadium there, to be honest. Nick, in America, of course, you don't get many away fans, do you? Because of the distances involved. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, because you've got to travel quite a bit over here. Most of it would be a plane. A lot of them would be a plane flight away and all that. So, and it's a different atmosphere, completely different atmosphere over here, because there's no swearing. They don't swear at games. And sometimes that's the fun part when you get but they don't. Yeah, because when I first went to a game, because I went to the Philly Unions the first time I went to a game years ago, and you see the atmosphere. There's something you can't. At first, I come, what's missing? There's something missing here. Then you realise there's no swearing, and I thought, oh. Then my mate goes, no sports in America that they swear at.
Wow.
Okay, all right, that's good, but I said that would never happen now in England. Can you imagine saying that to England fans? Can we cut the swearing out?
Yeah. Did you say I'm from Swindon and they let you off if you did?
Yeah. Oh, they all know they all know over here that I'm a Swindon fan.
Excellent. Right, let's move on to tomorrow night, because Scotland's is Crawley. Liam, surely we've got a great chance of going through to the next round of the League Cup. They won on Saturday, we should say. It was a great win for them against Blackpool, wasn't it? So they've kicked off their season in style. We don't know what sort of team Scott Lindsay might put out, even if he's got that many players to change. I don't know. But what are your thoughts on tomorrow?
We're going to make Will Wright captain, are we? Because he is a find, isn't he? I mean, that was a great goal the other night.
Unbelievable.
And I think they're missing him going as well. Sam Morshead put on X earlier was that we haven't won a League Cup game for 10 years. And I'm sure we're going to talk tonight about the importance of getting some more revenue. The club seems to be self-funding at the moment, doesn't they? So to self-fund, we need a decent second round draw or whatever we're going to be, playing somebody decent from either the Premiership or top of the First Division or Championship as it is now. I think tomorrow night, we normally do okay at Crawley, don't we? It's normally a nice day out. I can say it. We normally do all right there, don't we? Apart from, I think, last year or so, wasn't it? They beat us last year.
Well, we got beat last year. We got beat 4-0 the year before, I think, if memory serves. Yeah.
Right, up until then, we were doing all right. Apart from something Monty Python this. But I think, it depends how seriously Lindsay takes it and how seriously we take it. And I think I'd like us to play 8 or 9 from the other night, to be honest, because, as Craig said, the first half they played like a pre-season friendly still. So it'd be nice actually to warm up a bit and get used to each other, and actually for the midfield to work together and decide who's playing where. Because I think that was part of the problem. What I've seen in the highlights of Friday night rather, was we didn't actually know who was doing what in the midfield.
Yeah. Hepburn Murphy scored, of course, on Saturday for them, didn't he? And if Russ plays, bound to score, isn't he? Says Sean. There you go. What do you reckon, Jamie?
It's the ex-player curse, isn't it? I think we've got to. I don't think there's any excuses this year. We had an extra day rest as well. In theory, I know there's travelling involved, but it's an extra day. And I think that team looks like it needs to learn how to play together. So I don't think there's any excuses tomorrow. I think you've got to play as full of strength as you can. Yeah, there might be one or two changes. But I think you've got to get the team gelling and working out how they play together. Otherwise, it's going to be a good few weeks before they are. So the quicker they get that patterns, I think the patterns of play comment is absolutely right, because that's what it looked like. My favourite was the first half when you got every big bloke possible in the box, and we managed to somehow between three players cock up a cross that didn't even get into the box. So even the kind of patterns of play, the set pieces, they've all got to start to gel, and I think you use it as a free game to do that. And it would be nice to actually find out what round two's like, wouldn't it? You know,
Would be.
Probably got a whole generation that haven't actually seen us in a
Yeah, very true. None of us, can't remember that excitement of finding out. I'm just trying to think. I mean, Chelsea, of course, we played in round two, didn't we? If I remember rightly, some years ago. It might even be the last time we got into round two. I can't remember. It's been so long. So it would be nice to get through and have that excitement of a ball being drawn out of the hat and finding who it is, wouldn't it? It'd be lovely. Craig, what's your view? James says we need a creative midfielder, a number 10, and I think that'll make a huge difference, lacking some creative flair. And I think that was evident on certainly first half, wasn't it? There was nobody making anything happen. It was all...
Yeah, it was just the repetitive kind of... trying to get it out wide and get a ball in the box. I mean, I think that's one of the risks, I guess, about having a big target man. We've not had a big target like that for a number of seasons, and I think, I mean, Kennedy knows what he's doing, but I guess the issue is that we're tempted to only play in that one way to get the ball to him. And I think what I noticed in the second half is we were going through the middle channels a bit more, and it was and Smith was getting the ball with his back to goal rather than trying to leap about and head it. As for Crawley, well, Hepburn Murphy will be injured, won't he? So I'm not concerned about that, because 90 minutes without a break, he'll be rested now for about a month, I'd imagine. So.
It was that comical goal he scored in pre-season, wasn't it? A fabulous mistake, and he just tapped it in from 2 yards. I think any one of us could have scored that, possibly, maybe, with a chance. Andrew, have you actually commentated on the second round of the League Cup? I don't know. Have you?
No. I think the one chance I would have had, I didn't think I could do. I think that was the last time, 2014. Was it QPR we played in the second round?
We played them at QPR. That might well have been it. We drew 2 each and lost on penalties, didn't we?
I think so. So I think the short answer is that privilege has not been given to me by the team yet. So it would be nice if they could.
That is extraordinary, really. Because how many seasons you've been doing?
Oh well, I think God, that you've scared me now. How many seasons I've sat through? So no, it must be about 10 now. Good Lord!
Wow!
Lord, I'll have to bake myself some sort of cake.
Yeah. What do you think about tomorrow then? Have we got a chance?
It's difficult, isn't it? I think it depends a bit on how many changes both sides want. I'm not sure we have a massive amount of room for change when you look at the bench you saw on Friday. If you sort of put in Kirkman and Mitchell for what's effectively their Football League debuts, that does feel like quite a bit of a risk. I think might change it around, so perhaps you have Sobowale starting in place of Kent, that sort of thing. But hopefully it won't change it too much. And Crawley, well, who knows? Who knows? So yeah, either Hepburn Murphy will be lethal or hamstrung, and there'll be no middle ground.
How was Bycroft after this? Because he went down a couple of times, didn't he? Was there any problem?
Yeah, it seems fine as far as we're aware. So it's also one of our new challenges is also going to be enticing meaningful team news out of the manager as well.
All right, fair enough. And just one other thing here. Kev says, latest on the forward coming in, Andrew, for you. What do we know anything on that?
Well, it's slightly unusual. Mark Kelly did actually say about, I know the one that the forward that sort of Sam mentioned in the Moonraker and so on, Kabonga Shimanga of Peterborough, but I think money is an issue. What a surprise in that Peterborough meant to have had some better offers for him, albeit from lower down the pyramid. But the club did at least sort of admit that interest exists. So I think they're certainly aware that ideally they'd want forward, another midfielder, and second goalkeeper to allow, like I say, as much to allow Redmond Evans to go and get some loan games rather than have his development hang strong by sitting on the bench for us and not playing very much. So they're still after those, but hopefully more by the end of the week. Touch wood.
Can I ask about Khan? I presume we don't want to cup tie him.
Well, that might be an astute assessment, Liam, but I couldn't tell you for certain.
He was ill on Friday. Is that right?
That's the
official reason.
What Mark Kennedy said afterwards. Yes.
Yeah. 2014-15 season, beat Luton, lost to Brighton. I can't even remember that. Wow. That's how. Anyway.
I can remember the Luton game for some reason because Michael Smith scored. And then I think was the Brighton game the one where Rowan Ince just scored the most ridiculous hammer of Thor kind of goal for Brighton. I think.
Can't remember
it. So I must have done one second round match after all.
Yeah, that is 10 years ago.
There
you go. Nick, what's your view on this? Because, looking from afar, obviously we're bred on League Cup success from 1969. Those of us who are old enough to have been there. Now we've got a whole generation of fans who don't know anything about getting past like round two even. It's just extraordinary, isn't it?
Yeah. And I said I'm going to Canada tomorrow to my mate's.
Yeah.
So I'm actually leaving at 6:30 in the morning so I can get there so I can watch the game. So I got an early start tomorrow. I got me and a mate. Well, I got Richie, a friend of mine over. He's on the old Fools Rush In panel. He's over here. So I'm with him and we're going up tomorrow morning to see a mate in Canada. So we're going to get up there early so we can watch the Swindon game. But I do think, knowing Crawley, I reckon he will make a lot of changes. And I don't think, like Jamie said, I don't think Swindon can. We need to keep this team playing. So I think we should be more strength than them, which should give us a chance. You hope. That's what you're hoping for. First Friday was a good point. We would have all took a point. So you're pleased with that. You're pleased that, as I said earlier, that we got better in the second half, not worse. So could we take that on now till tomorrow, and hopefully, again, not make many changes because the team needs to play together.
So you're off to Canada to do what? Are you coaching? What are you doing?
Well, I'm meeting a club up there because I'm actually going to start my own soccer tour business. So I'm going to meet a mate. My mate wants me to meet a club up there about doing a soccer tour for them. So I just done one in June in New England. I brought 2 teams over to England to do soccer tours. So I'm doing that. I'm going to start my own company up doing a soccer tour. Companies bringing teams over to England, and I'm also going to look at meeting at universities. So I think maybe getting kids to come to study in England and play rather than a lot of them in England like to come to America. It's so expensive over here now. I think doing it the other way round. So I'm looking at taking kids from here maybe to come to England and study. Yeah. So I'm going to meet a club up in Canada so that's why I'm going up.
Well, we wish you well with it. I hope it goes well for you. Of course, we should say the USA women's team won the Olympics, didn't they? So they've gone bonkers about that over there, haven't they?
Yeah, and Emma Hayes, they all love Emma Hayes now. But it's funny, it's like, coaching, you can win or you can't. Like they were moaning. I remember the last World Cup when they moaned about the guys. He didn't make many subs, and she didn't make many subs because she won. It's okay. If she lost, they would have crucified her for not making subs. Oh, you've gone into extra time. Players were tired. You can see they were tired, and you didn't make no subs, but they won. So,
Nick, can I just say that sounds a much better thought out business model than the last time that I remember hearing about an international link up between a team in Wiltshire and a team in another. It sounds much much more robust and clearly thought out.
To what you refer, we don't know, Craig. A mention of Fools Rushing, we should have said, of course, they're on at 9 o'clock tonight. So Fifey was on this very panel last week. So if you want some more Swindon Town, then it's on 9 o'clock. Right, Liam, let's get back.
Richard's going on that later. So when I come off here, Richard's going to come out here. He's gone on Fools.
So will there be surfing in the background then, or are you going to change
Not
it?
for his, I don't think. I don't know. It's on there. I don't get this one. So,
Lovely. Jason says, evening all, looking forward to a smash and grab win tomorrow. That'll do nicely, thank you. And as I've said many times, 1-0 away all season, I'll take it. Liam, let's go back to some memories then. I'm going to give you a couple. One I remember from 1969, August the 16th, Swindon Town 2, Carlisle United 2. Arthur Horsfield scored his first 2 home goals for the town. 17,055 were at the county ground that day. And August 25th, 1973, Swindon Town 3, Sheffield Wednesday 1. Moss, McGovern, Ray Tracy, who'd been signed that summer, 8,267. The remarkable thing about that was they then got a point and then they got another win. They had 5 points because it was 2 points for win in those days. Top of the table, they got relegated that season. So early season form out of the window. What memories have you got, Liam, of the opening day?
Well, that was 73 was the first year I went to a game. I went to Leicester in February, or home to Leicester. We lost 1-0. And Birchnell scored that. I still remember looking it up. I'll tell you one I don't want to throw in. Glenn Hoddle's first game. Because he scored a bit like we were talking about Ardiles earlier.
The Sunderland goal.
First game, and he scored in his last game for us, didn't he?
Yes, that's very true. Yes.
So Sunderland home, and Sunderland, I presume, had just come down, just been relegated when they went up in false pretenses a couple of years before that, didn't they? And we beat them 1-0. And
it was they narrowly escaped relegation. That he came in just to save Swindon from relegation the previous season, and then got his first goal in that game against Sunderland, as you rightly said.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, but because Sunderland went up on a pretense, didn't they, when they shouldn't have a couple of years before that. And but the whole point is that just seeing Hoddle score for us, they're fantastic memories for me. And that obviously the playoff final at the other end of that season, but it just started so confidently, didn't it? It started so wonderfully that whole season. Just remember that.
He was quite a decent player, I think, wasn't he, in his time? 1989, 19th of August 1989, Swindon 0, Sunderland 2. First game for Ozzy Ardiles. Came on 62 minutes, got a yellow on 90, 10,199, 1,641 away fans. At the end of the season, of course, ended at Wembley, didn't it? 1990 playoff final against, guess who, Sunderland. So there you are. Jamie, your first day early season memories?
I think the Premiership season stands out as definitely one of them. I think we were talking about earlier the away to Sheffield United. Probably one and only time, I shouldn't say that kind of thing, we'll ever be in that kind of top division. I think it was a party atmosphere from what I remember. And I just remember the bizarre Brazilian style away kit that we decided to have for that season. That wasn't it Crystal Palace's kit or something? It was like definitely wasn't us, was it? But it was definitely a bit of an interesting away game. But with the John Moncur free kick, but I just remember it as that once in a lifetime experience of being in the big league, if you like, and part of it. And actually, we didn't do too bad. We held our own. We didn't get the result we wanted, but it certainly wasn't a bad start to a season and a memorable season at that. But it sure as hell was better than last season's first game of the year experience, which we will go down in history as being the the first set of mugs that went and didn't actually get to see a game on the first day of the season, but we saw a lot of rain instead.
Yeah, we saw a lot of rain. Were you there, Craig, for Colchester away on the opening day?
No, I was at Steadhouse Muir on that Saturday, feeling very guilty because I wasn't there, checking on the BBC, and it's not started. They've not kicked off. So I didn't feel quite so guilty. Like Jamie, I remember that the first game in the Premier League, and I lived in Sheffield at the time, so I walked there, which was a wonderful way to start the season off walking down West Street to the ground. But the game that I remember, and I know the date because it's the anniversary on Friday. It's the 16th of August 1975, which was the first game I ever went to at the county ground. I can remember the smell of the liniment. I can remember the Brute adverts being played on the tannoy over the North Stand, which was quite scary. And I remember Frank Burrow's spectacular own goal. We lost 1-0 to Chesterfield. So there's a kind of synchronicity to that. So that, of course, you can do the maths. That now means that this season is my 50th year following the town. I know, God bless you. I don't look it, but I feel it. I feels it.
Yeah, I felt it at 3:30 on Saturday morning, I could assure you. Actually, Sean says, coincidentally, my first opening away game was Chesterfield at the old Saltergate. We lost 1-0. Hi, Mike. Opening game 1990-91. After a bonkers summer, when over the course of 2 weeks, we had been a second-tier club, a Premier League club, a third-tier club, and back to the second tier. We played Charlton away when they played their games at Selhurst Park, won 2-1, and spent the majority of the game in blazing sunshine on the away end, singing disrespectful songs about the Football League and how they were full of distasteful stuff. That was one of the best results in the club's history, I maintain, after the summer that the club had. Incredible. And here's a cracker. Jason, hello. Brezovan's debut opening day, 06-07, away to Hartlepool sticks in my mind. 1-0 winners on the day. 2 penalty saves, if I remember rightly, from Petr Brezovan, who potentially was going to go on to be one of the best goalkeepers in Swindon's history. But it never quite worked out because, of course, he got injured, didn't he? So it never quite worked out. But what a game it was that day. Extraordinary. And a 1-0 win at Hartlepool. Mr. Hawes, what about you?
I try and see if I can find positives of the 21st century, which is quite hard. But the Michael Doughty sort of return game against Macclesfield, where he scored the two penalties right at the end, and Swindon won 3-2. I think that was Macclesfield's first game back in the league, from what I can remember going on things last night. But no, that it was perhaps inevitably a full storm, but it felt really good to have got Michael Doughty back, and then he pops up with the 2 penalties in the last seconds, and it was all high drama and tremendous fun.
It was fun. I remember driving home that day, and a mate of mine was working for 5 Live that day, and I remember listening to his report on the way back, Hamish Marshall, and thinking, oh, yeah, we're on National Radio 5 Live. That's not too bad at all. So, yeah, it was a cracking end to it. I must admit, we were 2-1 down after about 92 minutes. It was 2. I think it was two penalties either, or the first one was right on injury time, if not in injury time, and the second one certainly was. Yeah.
So,
yeah, great memory. You were commentating on that, I assume, were you?
I was.
Yes. What about you, Nick?
My because I'm terrible with memory. My first sort of one I can remember, but it was their first home league game, was the Premier League, the Liverpool, when we got beat 5-0. And it was never, but it was, you talk to people, they were never 5 goals better. But and I always say that to people. But the thing in the Premier League was the finishing was that, unbelievable. Like I remember that 1-1 Ian Wright scored for Arsenal. It weren't even half a chance, and he's chipped out. You're thinking, where did that come from? What even give? The Liverpool game, the goals were just, the finishing was just unbelievable. But when you say to someone when they're not 5 goals, it was a close game. Well, how'd you get on? You lost 5-0. They sort of laugh at you.
Yeah. I remember right. There was a young player called Steve McManaman who quite impressed that day, didn't he?
Yeah. God, I remember that. And I was just looking up. I remember a League Cup game. One of them I really remember. I thought it was the first round, but when I researched it, it was second round when we lost to Blackburn 3-2 because my nephew come. And the crowd, it was 14,500 there. That, and I was just looking up. There was, because I remember when Swindon scored, the crowd went crazy. He started crying. It was too loud for him. Oh. So I always remember that, and I always remember it being Blackburn. It was a great atmosphere. Yeah, Shearer scored 2 in Sutton. We lost 3-2. I remember that atmosphere because it was so loud that day at the county ground that evening. It was an evening game. And it was such a good atmosphere. That was one of the best atmospheres that I ever went to at the county ground.
This from Paul. First game he brought his son to, the 12th of August 1995. Opening game, 1-0 at Hull. Steve Finney scored. That, of course, was the start of the championship season of 95-96. Liam's fiddling around with his blinds, so we'll. I mean, yeah. Go on.
Didn't we open Stoke City's ground? Was that the first game of the season?
It was the first away game, certainly. And Chris Hayes scored, didn't he? It was a 2-1 win, if I remember rightly. They opened whatever that ground's called these days. I don't know. It was Britannia. Who knows what it is now? Might be the Comet ground for all I know. I don't know. But they won 2-1 up there, and that wasn't a very good opening day for them, was it? Barnsley 3-1, 2002. That was Sammy Parkin's hat trick, I think, wasn't it? Against Barnsley. We'd signed this player from Chelsea on loan, and he popped in with a hat trick. That was pretty good. Gillingham 2009. Craig, were you there for that one?
No, I don't remember. Was that when we got beat 5-0? Yeah, I remember. I was listening to that from afar. But no, I'm glad I didn't go to that one.
Wasn't that when we all got heat stroke?
It was about midday kickoff, if I remember rightly. And I remember Danny Wilson coming towards the away fans and going, and we all thought, that was the same. We felt the same. It was a boiling hot day, midday kickoff. We got beat 5-0, but we weren't bottom of the league because I think Norwich beat Colchester, or Colchester beat Norwich.
Norwich, didn't they?
Yeah, didn't Colchester beat Norwich? And then Paul Lambert moved.
That's right. Yeah. So were you doing that 5-0, Andrew?
No. Thankfully, I was not. But before my time, I spared that particular horror.
So, what's the best? Apart from the Michael Doughty one, what's the best opening day that you've commented on?
I'm trying to think because actually, up until the past couple of years, we've tended to do pretty well, haven't we? We've tended to win. It's just they sort of slightly blur into one. Again on Full Storms, I think I quite enjoyed going to Carlisle on the opening day for David Flitcroft's first game and winning there, because that just, I didn't think it was a particularly pretty game from what I recall, which may shock those of you who saw the David Flitcroft football, but it was, I suppose it had little sort of parallels with kind of what we saw on Friday. That was, at least it was going to be a team that was going to be a bit more kind of physically competitive and robust rather than sort of steamrolled. And it's always nice to come back from Carlisle with something, given it's the eternal journey. And when you play them in August, it's quite a nice trip back from the Lake District as well.
Yeah, it's a fabulous bit. There's always a wonderful bit that before you get to Carlisle, which is quite majestic. Didn't Luke Norris score and then get injured, if I remember rightly?
Yes, I believe he did.
Yeah, he was a hero in those days, if you remember rightly. So I was told we were the last team to play at the old Victoria Ground and the first team to be opening at the Britannia. Wow. That's a great statistic. Thanks, Sean. That's very good indeed. Here's another one. Scunthorpe, says Andrew. Now, Nick, this was after a summer which we thought Swindon Town were going to disappear off the face of the earth. It was not to be. Clem Morfuni came in as the owner, and we won at Scunthorpe. Do you have any memories of that one?
Not really, no. I remember when he came in, he done his getting the old season tickets up and his big tour around Swindon and all that. And it was a good atmosphere when he came in. But no, my memory's terrible. I don't know how you lot remember from back in the day. I don't get it.
I think it was my favourite game of that season. That was just great. And it was really, I'm an emotional old git, but I was crying. It was just, I can't believe, A, we've still got a club. B, we're only 1-0 down at half time. And this lad McCurdy looks like a scruffy Herbert. He looks great. And it was just, we're back. We've got our Swindon back, Morfuni in the crowd. It was just a wonderful release of emotion. And that was a great day. Really, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about that. That was a great day. Yeah, I'd forgotten about it. It was.
Yeah, I remember seeing H. McCurdy play at Weymouth when he was a trialist and thinking, what's that? Because it's like a little kid at school who just gets a game and you think, oh, give him a game, it'll keep him happy. And then, my goodness me, he got a goal, didn't he? And there was also a wonderful goal, Andrew, if I remember rightly, the first touch, and then was it Jerry Yates got it? It's just wonderful football, and you thought, oh, we're on our way then. I mean, Scunthorpe had a dog of a season, but
I think we've played I think we've played Scunthorpe twice away in recent seasons, because there's the start of the Richie Wellen season, the first day.
Yeah.
I think they went up there, and then Craig was right. I shouldn't have overlooked that. That Scunthorpe win, the first of the sort of Milfoon era, did have a lot of kind of emotion behind it, and but Ben Gladwin scored a good goal, didn't he? And it was, I think the goals were at the sort of right end, weren't they, in front of the away fans? And that definitely got the old heartstrings tugged just a little bit, even for a cynical old so like me.
No, it was a good day. Right, so Colchester postponed. Of course, we talked about that. Here's another one. Swindon against Wrexham, 2-1 at home. First game in charge for Lou Macari, the 25th of August, 1984. Coincidentally, it was Wrexham that following season, at the opening game, lost 1-0. Lou Macari and Alan May scored in that goal, in that game. And obviously, that later on in that season, it was Lou Macari got sacked and then reinstated, etc., etc. And the rest is history. Harrogate in July, Jamie. Remember that? I mean, I always maintain that wasn't a proper season because it started in July.
Yeah, I think it was a weird one. Blimey, going to Harrogate is a weird thing in the best of times. Wasn't that where it was the world's longest walk to the coach?
Yeah.
From the coach to we'll just drop you off 3 miles away or something, and you can walk in the blazing heat and see if half the older members of the coaching staff can make it to the actual ground. But yeah, I think that was my abiding memory of that. And then it was just a bit of a culture shock as a ground, but it's a nice little ground. They're just a very strange club that don't seem to particularly look after away fans. Because our last trip there as well, where they didn't give a monkeys when the coach problems we had afterwards as well. No. So our trips to Harrogate have probably have been memorable for the wrong reasons, not necessarily for results, but for things either being a bit dramatic or going slightly wrong a long way from home. But having said that, the food's great. So
yeah, it's nice. They do a very nice pie there, don't they, and stuff. Very nice vegetarian pie.
The only place where you get your bottle top taken off you because it's a weapon, and then they give you what is effectively a massive steak, a wooden steak for your burger that you could quite take out someone's eye with. So,
yeah, that's very true. And the toilets last season were, how can I put this? Interesting, shall we?
Industrial.
Yeah. Craig, you put your hand up. What you got to say?
Yeah, ordinarily I'd be typing in on the chat function here, but I mean, I think it's right that we remember the Jimmy Davis day, because Friday was the anniversary, wasn't it? And that was very strange because it was so he died in a car crash on the morning of that first game of the season, and he played for us on loan from Man United the previous season and was just superb, wasn't he? Just breath of fresh air. Such a talented player. And it was just that it was pre the days of kind of mobile phones and text messages, and the news was just trickling through. And I was sat in the main stand for that game, so I'd kind of heard from, I don't know who had told me, but it was a kind of reliable source, and there was kind of rumours and counter rumours, but it clearly got to the players because we didn't, we just rolled over.
Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah, they beat us. They beat us 3-2, but we played in the second half. But it was such a surreal thing, and it just reminds us that actually, in the scheme of things, football's not that important. But that was a strange thing. It was a gloriously sunny day. It was great to start the season. For family reasons, playing Sheffield Wednesday at home was a great day as well. But it just to go to the football and then hear that news was just awful.
Weren't they 3 up at half time, Craig, weren't they? And
yeah, that's right.
The news got through to the rest of us at half time. And because Jimmy had just signed for Watford, hadn't he?
That's right. And he was going, he'd been to, I mean, we all read the news reports, but he was travelling back from the Midlands back to Watford, wasn't he? But
I remember that.
But I think all that makes sense because all the goals were in the town end. The town end edge. So 3 in the first half, 2 in the second half.
Yeah. Very sad. Right, Nick, I was going to ask you, because as a coach, what do you take out of the first game of the season? And what do you look for? Now, if you're Wayne Rooney, right, what do you take out of a 4-0 thrashing at Sheffield Wednesday? Is that a good thing to see, a bad thing to see? Because you learn more when you're beaten like that? Or if you win 4-0, you don't learn much. What do you take out of that?
As a coach, you'll definitely take the win 4-0 than the lose. Without a doubt. For him, the pressure he's under, like I've been reading, he's absolutely got battered today, isn't he? So, let's be honest, the 4-0, you're probably going to take out what players aren't good enough, but it's a bit late now. The season's starting. You know, as a coach, you definitely don't want, especially a new coach. That's the last thing you want is a 4-0 drum in your first game of the season. The pressure he is under. You know, you got to look at what went wrong in because he's been there for pre-season and like he's not been there. So, you as a coach, he must have had last night. He must have been terrible. You're thinking of what went wrong. Because you always blame yourself as a coach. It's always your fault. If the team lose, it's always your fault. So you're looking at where the goals from. I know they were saying they're all from crosses, but didn't they work on that? What are they like last year with Swindon? We're always saying about we had no height. So you'd look at it now and think, well, at least they've worked on that and they brought height in the team. So if you're not good at stopping crosses, then you got to make sure you got height to win the crosses as a coach. But your first and foremost point is, can we stop the ball getting into the box? But they didn't do that good a job. So he's going to look at himself and think, this is because he is under more pressure. He ain't going to be given time. Fans are going to be on his back straight away.
Yeah, especially as the former Plymouth manager has left Preston today, Ryan Lowe, hasn't he? So we'll throw that one into the mix. Michael Smith scored their fourth. For those who might remember Michael Smith. I also thought he was a decent player, but some didn't for some strange reason. So what would we take out of the opening day then, Andrew? What do you take out of it?
I think it kind of sort of solidified what we thought we might have seen in pre-season. It's going to be a team that's going to be less flamboyant but more solid. I think if I'm going to accentuate the positives, I take quite a lot from not really feeling like I was going to have to be in a blind panic for the last 15 minutes, that they would hang on the way they kind of saw out the game. I think those sort of more solid things you take from it, and then hopefully, as you're talking about, the patterns come through a bit more. So that's the kind of optimistic take on it. The more concerning thing is where our goals going to come from.
The thing I noticed about Jack Bycroft, he was falling on the ball at the end.
It's nice to build from a good base.
Yeah, Jack Bycroft was falling on the ball at the end as well, which I thought was quite nice. They obviously talked about game management at the end, which they did really sort of slow the game down quite well, didn't they? Yeah, they did. Yeah, I thought that was quite good. Sean says, shouldn't you be keeping an eye on the beach for sharks and the safety of swimmers, Nick? We are a bit worried about you because you're quite high up there, aren't you? You know, you it's a long way down to that beach, really. What do you take away from it, Leon? I mean, obviously you weren't there. We take that on board, but when you saw the result, were you happy, sad, disappointed, okay with it? What were you thinking?
Well, it's okay with that. I think it's going to be an awful lot of 1-0s this season.
Yeah.
1-0 to them or 1-0 to us, and that's okay. It's nice to have some height. Let's not forget those two occasions last year when Harry Smith played against us. I thought he was actually quite skillful. Was it the game at Stevenage, wasn't it? He was really quite nifty, wasn't he? And he wasn't just that big unit. There was some skill about him. I think it's and I was hoping pre-season that there might be some relationship between him and Glatzel, really, and then Drinan ends up being the Harry Smith understudy, I suppose. Because they had one good season, didn't they? Or maybe half a good season at Orient together, which is why they pushed those two. I think it was a text from James earlier, wasn't there, about we just need somebody in that midfield and another striker to play off. Largely because I don't know how fit Glatzel will be, because bless him, he's got a history, hasn't he, of not completing full seasons, really. So to protect him a bit and allow him to develop, because I think he is class and he is one of our investments for our break-even football club or self-funding football club. So we do need a bit more. I think we haven't mentioned any of us yet. That was a bad mistake for their goal.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
He had a good game otherwise, but that was the mistake. At least we only let one in. Last season, there'd have been 2 or 3 by half-time, including the penalty that, thankfully, the ref didn't give. So I'm okay. I'm all right where we are at the moment. I'm certainly feeling an awful lot better than I did this time last year. A bit more content.
Well, we'll see. Of course, our views may all change by 6 o'clock on Saturday night. Who knows? Jamie, the Glatzel thing's interesting. A big man, small man is the ideal combination. You would think that Harry Smith and Glatzel, you got an inside forward, you got a centre forward, knocks the ball down. Thanks very much. Do 1-0. I mean, it's always been the classic combination, isn't it?
Yeah, I know Kennedy talked up the fact that he's got 3, he doesn't mind who's playing. I don't believe that for a second. I think we looked a lot more more innovative, more creative when you've got that one player up and someone playing off of them. And also Glaxo gave you that opportunity to stretch the defence. I think I'd be shocked if we're not after another smaller forward or someone else who can certainly run over the top. I think Smith looked a lot better in the second half because we were actually playing it to his chest and playing for him to hold it up rather than hoofing it across the top of his head, where clearly it's all great flicking it on, but Drinan or Dryden is never going to run onto those flick-ons. So I think for me that hopefully with us learning as we go, that's the way to play with Smith, because I think he will bring people into the game. Ollie Banks was the difference of the teams in the first half. He ran the show, and having that creative midfielder we've talked about, I think is the key to us having a successful season. And not, I think if we don't bring one of those in, someone who can dominate that midfield, I think we'll be living off scraps for a while until we do find someone. But I think the bit that I quite liked is I think that experience is there with some game management. I'm not convinced that at least one of those goalkeepers going down and towards the end wasn't planned or wasn't instigated with one of the defenders telling him to go down to slow the game down. And we've not had that for years. We've had teams doing that against us. We've not had us playing that game, and I think we've maybe got a bit of experience in the team. We talked last year about leaders. I would hope it's one game, but there's enough experience in some of those players on the pitch to maybe play the dark arts a bit better. Because when's the last time we saw out a game without conceding?
Yeah,
time after time last year, that was what happened. We had no confidence going into injury time. We weren't going to concede a goal, did we? And I just like to be 3 or 4 weeks down the line going, we're not as petrified by the injury board as we were the entire last season.
No, I was still a bit worried when he put up, was it 4 minutes on a Friday? I think
that's the leftover. So that's the last 10 years of having that, isn't it? So
yeah,
new start that we can
takes a while to get it out of the system. Yeah. Hi, Daz St George. Hi, Daz. First round, Luton 1, Swindon Town 2. Match Tuesday, August the 12th, 2014. Michael Smith with 2, lost 4-2 to Brighton in the second round. So there you are. That's that one. Yeah, Craig. I don't know really. Where do we go from here? I mean, it's one game. Let's not be silly. We're not all sure where it's all going to go this season, are we? So, have you changed your mind about where you might go, or are you undecided?
I mean, first of all, I'll just reiterate everything that's been said before about game management and the dark arts. I think we've not had that, and that makes me feel much more confident than I was, 3 months ago, and much more confident than I was at the start of July. So I think, given the turnover, given the churn, given the fact that we might see some players leaving as well, yet I think we can't really make a judgment until September. And I don't think the players are still, learning their names, they're learning their positions, they're learning styles of play. So let's just get to August without, completely messing it up. Let's just try and not get spanked 5 or 6-0. That's not going to happen. I think we're going to be grinding out, 1-0s, 0-0s. It's going to be one of those kind of years. But let's just try to get through to the end of the month without shipping too many points and goals and see where we are from there. But I'm confident. 10th, 8th, something like that. I think I'd settle for after seeing that.
This is from somebody who's seen 533 games since the beginning of July, I think. Isn't that right? Something like nonsensical like that. Andrew, confident or better than you thought? What would you think?
Like I said, I think and why not wildly overact one game because it's fun. I think that kind of confirms it probably confirms what we thought it might be, and so I guess that makes you think initially maybe sort of mid-table, but Craig, sorry, it depends on the additions to provide a bit of extra depth and a bit of kind of options in terms of sort of pace up front and creativity in midfield that aren't quite there. If we can do that and keep the structure that might be in place, then I'll start gently revising upwards.
Hands up those who took a screenshot of us being top of the league for less than, they're excellent. I'm glad you did, because they're less than 24 hours. Nick, the dart arts, I mean, do you coach them? They're natural. How does it work?
No, you do coach them. You do coach to waste time when you're winning the game, to slow it down, to I've never done the fake the injury to get someone. I've never done that one. I've done the fake the injury. When the ball goes out, just walk, take your time, don't rush it. Someone throws you the ball back, tell them to shut up and leave the ball on the floor. You'll go and pick it up, kind of thing. I've done that. You do that. I've never done like they're saying now. They do the old drinks breaks to get the injury, so we get a drink. I've never done that one. Oh yeah, I've definitely done. Changed it in that way to slow it down, to take your time when the ball goes out, to maybe give a foul away up in their corner to waste a bit more time, not in our half, so it's in a danger, not in a dangerous area. You do that, yeah, of course you do at the end. Try and kill a game off, and especially if when you're winning and they're putting you under pressure, then you want to completely change the pace of the game. So that's when you're saying sometimes just keep the ball, go sideways, and sometimes if you make it always overhit your passes, so if anything is going to go out and they're not going to get cut out, and sometimes smash it out if you have to, just to kill the game, take the pace of the game out of it.
So, if you were, I don't know, having a bit of a struggle in the first 25 minutes, would you say to one of your players, "Oi, go down. We can have a little break, and then we can tell people what they ought to be doing"? I mean, I'm not saying.
Yeah. I would say that if you need to get your word across, get it to someone, if someone to go injured or whatever, so we can get a word across. Yeah, that's not a problem for me. That's a tactics. People used to moan and stuff, but that is a tactic. If you want to get stuff across, get someone to get an injury so the thing can come on, all the players can come across to you then, and then you can get, you can tell them what you want and how, especially if you're getting bombarded and you're under pressure. I've done that in games, and I remember years ago when I first came here coaching again, I was getting them to play out from the back. We took the lead and we were just getting bombarded. So I said to the team, for the next 10 minutes, goalie, I want you to pump everything in their half, and centre-backs get up to the halfway line because we're under too much pressure. We're going to concede. They were just bombarding us. I said, we've got to relieve the pressure. So everything now, and they're sort of thinking, well, hang on, you told us to keep it on the deck and play it out from the back. I said, yeah, I know. But listen to what I'm saying now. For the next 10 minutes, everything goes long, and we get up to the halfway line and pressure them in their half. I said, keep it out of our half, because we were under so much pressure that we were losing it at the back. So I said, no, it's got to go long.
Do you know what? This makes this old chap quite glad to hear you say that, because I'd kind of like to know that happens. And, suddenly these injuries where they suddenly fall down on the floor, they need a bit of treatment. I've always suspected that's just a political injury, so you can get your message across. Yeah. So there you go. This is from Clint. Hi, Clint. Strange one, but was confused on Offerball's positioning on Friday. I thought he was going to be our central defensive midfielder, but looked like he was playing wide left or CAM when he's one of the enforcement players. What was your view, Andrew, on Nnamdi Offerball?
He's definitely a bit further forward. I did ask Mark Kelly today in doing our
central attacking midfielder. Sorry, yeah.
I did ask Mark Kelly a bit about why sort of Cottrell played where he did, and he gave a very long and expansive answer, which unfortunately I can't actually remember. But I guess I should at least, that might encourage people to listen tomorrow, which is not my intention. But there is some sort of method into having kind of Cottrell there as the more sort of technical player. But no, it is a bit of a surprise to see Offerball further forward, given he did do that kind of. That was one of the rare better bits of, the second half of last season, wasn't it? Or the back end, seeing Offerball come in and actually be that kind of player that can mop things up that we've been lacking for most of the season.
Sure. I was saying we might score from a corner this season. Didn't get one Friday. But did we have a corner? Did we not have one?
I don't think we did. No, not that I can remember.
Wow, that's unbelievable. There you go. I was only at the game. Why would I know? You would expect now that way one of our weapons this season when you get the ball in the box and got enough height. Gentlemen, thank you very much indeed. Nick, I see your surfboard is just behind you, so it's ready for you to go. And don't forget, Falls Rush In will be coming from that very same venue in less than an hour now. So there we are. Thank you very much indeed, Craig. Are you with us on Saturday from Bonnie, Scotland?
No, I'm going to see two games in the South of Scotland League on Saturday, one at 12 and one at 2.
Just the two?
So just the two. You make the most of the stagger kickoff. So it's Clydebank Darvel tomorrow, so I won't be at Crawley. But I've got my ticket for for crew now, and I've worked out there's a direct train which leaves Glasgow at 8, which gets in at 11, which is reasonable. But I'm hoping to get to there's a home game right at the end of the month, isn't there? Kind of
Notts County.
Yeah, I'll be at that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That Glasgow to Crewe train is very nice, Craig. I've used it a few times the other way around.
I'm looking forward to it.
There you go.
Pop in the supermarket on the way there, so that'd be good. That'd be a nice journey.
Excellent. Ross says, do we know when the Port Vale tickets go on sale? Not me personally, no idea, but I'm sure they'll be announced as soon as they are. Hopefully we'll become a team that will be skilled in the dark arts and game management as the season progresses. I have no problem with it at all whatsoever. And when they do it at the county ground, everybody boos them. I think, well, you're 1-0 up away from home. Why wouldn't you do it? It's as simple as that, really. Anyway, gentlemen, thank you very much indeed for your assistance, as always, this evening. And no doubt we will discuss much more between now and May.
Yeah. Thank you very much, gents. All the very best.
See ya.